No, he worked as George Barnes.
Now, did he have blonde hair?
Yeah, he worked in Memphis with Billy Dundee for quite
right.
a while too.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know the name, I just couldn't picture. If he had blonde hair, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, because Bill Dundee started off in Australia as well.
Yes, that's right. And also George Julio, he's still kicking around, still training wrestlers, I think, in Melbourne.
Yeah, he's still got his gym there. He's a fantastic man. He's done so much for wrestling in Melbourne.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he's a
Actually,
great...
In March this year, there's a wrestling reunion dinner down in Melbourne. And all those guys will be going, so I'm going down to Melbourne for that one as well. So it should be a fantastic night.
Well, I hope I'm back in Melbourne in that time. I'm trying to get back in March. So someone sent me an email. We're actually interviewing Con next week, not Con Yakovides, but another young guy who wrestled a lot there and with George. So, yeah, someone sent me an email. So I'm definitely going to go back for that. It'll be awesome. Doug?
Yeah, it'd be a fantastic night.
Oh, it'd be great, mate. It could be good to catch up with in person, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we could throw each other around across the tables or something just for...
I'm pretty crippled up now, so
yeah.
I've just had my right shoulder reconstructed for the third time.
Oh, wow.
And only 5 weeks ago, so I still can't lift my right arm up yet, but I've had the left shoulder done. I've got a steel plate up here in the shoulder. I've had both my knees replaced already. I need both my hips replaced. I've got a plate in my foot as well. So I'm pretty stuffed up, yeah.
Well, you know, you say I'm the same. I've got to get this right knee replaced. It's well and truly overdue because now it sticks out at a funny angle. But all that from wrestling, you know, the shoulder injuries and I'm
61 years old. I had the first knee replaced when I was 43.
Wow.
So I've had my right knee replaced twice.
Jeez.
So so I took a lot of crazy bumps, and like we'd get tapes from overseas because in those days there was no internet, of course.
Yeah.
So we'd get tapes from Japan, from America, from England, and a friend of ours had a converting machine, so we'd get them converted to Australian. And Wayne and I, because we were a tag team for about 15 years, we'd go down the gym and practice all these big fancy moves. And because in America, they all had cushioning outside on the ground.
Yeah.
And not in Australia, we had concrete floors. So I'd take suplexes from inside the ring, outside the ring on the concrete floor.
I know, right?
So, one time I took a suplex off the top rope. The guy was standing on the top turnbuckle and he was over 6 foot tall, Billy Condolino. And I would have been up in the air probably about 13, 14 feet.
Wow.
And I landed right in the centre of the ring on top of the pole in the middle of underneath, and there was no give at all. And I thought I was it. I thought I was paralysed. My legs tingled. I had no feeling, and I thought, oh, God, here it is. But lucky enough, within 2 or 3 minutes, everything was back to normal. So, but I am paying the price now, but I loved every second of it.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. It's like I'll admit I wasn't the best wrestler. I played a heel, you know, the bikey type, and I took a lot of bumps, but I didn't take anything there. So I'm not ever going to pretend I was the amazing wrestler. I did a lot of talking, a lot of yakking, you know, all the heel stuff, got the crowd going. Took a lot of bumps, but yeah, it does catch up with you over the years. Like, especially, and if you're a big guy, like I was 6'6", then I think I've shrunk with age a bit. But you take big bumps as a big guy, and if you don't have a proper ring, and we were doing it on concrete, like you said, every time we hit it was no cushioning, it was concrete outside on the.
Yeah. We take pile drivers, suplexes all outside on the concrete floor.
I know, right? It's insane, mate. It's insane. Doug, you got any questions? I'm sure.
Yeah, I must ask, what's the funniest insult you've ever said to a wrestler?
Ooh, to a wrestler. we did, there's an old funny thing we did once in a tag match, the old fart routine. I'm not sure if you know about the fart routine. And it's what you do, you set up one guy in the tag. The referee knows, the commentator knows, everyone knows except this one particular guy. And you'd go to lock up and you go, oh, he farted, he stinks. And because it embarrassed the shit out of the guy. And then, so I tag my partner and he'd do the same thing, and then he'd go to attack his partner and he'd go, oh, gee. So, I mean, that's a fun thing. You don't do it very often, but we did it once or twice, and, yeah, it's quite funny.
That's hilarious, mate. I tell you something. Do you remember he used to wear a mask, and he never had eye holes or mouthpieces like he used to call himself the Hangman. He used to be a great friend.
Oh, yes.
I forget his name. He's a great friend of Frank Carpenter's, right? And that guy, he was the funniest guy, mate. We'd all be behind the curtain watching him because you can guarantee something's going to happen. Now, he did a big splash off the top rope one night. Before the show starts, he would just fly out into the ring, spread eagle, land in the middle. Well, he did what you did. He landed in the middle and knocked himself out. So he's laying unconscious. No one knew, like nothing's happening. So the ref had to go and check him, right? And he woke up and he just didn't know what had happened, but he got up and carried on with the match. Now, I was wrestling him one night. I had no idea what had happened. Now, sorry, ladies, but I've got to say it. The family jewels were hanging out because he'd split his trunks between his legs, but we sort of didn't know. So as he's got me on the ground on my knees, he's got me locked up. You know, you get reach behind to grab their knee. Well, I went to grab something, but it wasn't his knee. And I went, hey! and what the hell, mate? And he's like, and all the old ladies sitting in the front row every time he bent over, mate. Like, oh my God. Trevor was his first name. It's been so long, I just can't remember. But he was hilarious, mate. There was never a dull.
There was one embarrassing time in the ring. I was really sick and I tried to cancel the show, but I couldn't get hold of the promoter. And so I turned up and I was in a 6-man tag, lucky enough. And I said to the guys, look, I'm really crook, so don't give me any bumps, because I was vomiting, I had diarrhea and all that sort of stuff. And I was wrestling Mario Marino, who's a big man. He would be 6'4", 6'5", and he would have been probably 22 stone at the time. I was probably about 15 stone at the time. Within the first 2 minutes, he picked me up and gave me the biggest slam, and unfortunately, lucky enough, I had about 4 or 5 pair of underpants on under my trunk, so I knew just in case. And it stung to high heaven. And as he went to pick me up, he's gone, oh, God, you stink. And he's tagged out, and Medlin was his partner, and Medlin came up and same thing. And I was just more worried that people could see it, but it was just embarrassing. So I had to wrestle for another 20 minutes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's payback for the fart joke.
That's right, yes.
You got payback for the fart joke, mate. Oh,
and another time, there was a guy called Tojo. He was actually a New Zealand Maori, but he wrestled as a Japanese guy here. And he used to just have bare feet. And he had me in the corner and he was choking me with his foot, and his foot stunk to high heaven. And it got me up around the mouth and the nose. And next thing I vomited all over his foot. So,
you're killing me.
Ken, thank God I never met you in the ring, mate.
I'm trying to contain it.
I gotta ask you, what happens when the crowd sees you throw up in the ring? What did you do? Did you just keep playing with that like it was because he was choking you and all that stuff?
Yeah, I just rolled over, threw up more outside the ring, and we just got back into it. He was looking at his foot going like, oh, yuck. And we just went back into our routine as normal.
Oh, Ken, that's
the crowd loved it too.
Oh, of course they would. I don't know about your pants, but I think the throw up would probably be real for them because they're thinking he caused it. But that's hilarious, mate. Doug, trust you to ask a good question.
I gotta control myself. This is the funniest episode.
Too, look, I was commentating for quite a while as well. Because I promoted from 91 to 98. And so occasionally I'd sit back and just compare the shows. And one night there was something happened. One of the matches fell short. Someone else didn't turn up. So we had to sort of try and kill time because all our shows had to be 2.5 hours because we got paid by the club. That was it, 2.5 hour show. So we're trying to think of ways to do something to stretch the show. And at this one particular club we did 16 shows there a year at this particular club. And once every 6 weeks, we'd get the young kids from a local dance group and they'd come and do a little dance routine. So to drag it out, at the end, me and Bob Lassie, who was the commentator, who was a giant of a man, we got in the ring with the dancers and we did the Macarena. That was big at the time. And the crowd absolutely went bananas. They loved it. Here was us two big fellas in suits and ties doing the Macarena with all these bloody kids. So we killed it over 10, 15 minutes. We had the audience up on their feet doing the dance with us, and it was great.
You can't beat those country shows and little club shows. Like, they were so much fun, but seriously, you've destroyed my memory for the night. I just can't get that picture out of you being body slammed and filling your pants, mate. Oh, that's hilarious. What I was going to say, you would have had this happen, right? We went to a show one night, and there would have been 10 people in the audience, like country show. And that is one of the hardest shows to do because we still did the show. You know, they paid, so we did the whole show. Have you ever had any experiences like that?
Yeah, I think we did a show in Brisbane once. I think it was 1988. It was Commonwealth Games. It was either 84 or 88. And it was an outdoor show at a football ground. And they'd sold like 300 tickets. But for some reason, it was the coldest night in Brisbane, like for 20 or 30 years at the time. So there were a big crowd they stayed inside the club. They didn't bother coming out to the football ground where the ring was set up. Only about 14 people. So as you said, we still had to do the show and we do the best we can because you're getting paid and they paid their tickets, so you got to entertain.
Yeah.
But I've done shows in pouring rain in Melbourne. We did a show in Lygon Street, the festival there in Lygon Street, Carlton, and it was absolutely bucketing down with rain. And there was still probably 50 to 100 people watching the rest. You still had to go and perform.
Yeah, and it really is tough. But once you get into the match, I think that's what keeps people coming back. The fact that, you know, they said, look, there was only a few of us there, but these guys still did the show, and I think it creates a lot of respect for the wrestlers. So, look, we're running out of time, but we are going to get you back again. We're going to talk about your book in a sec. The other thing I just wanted to mention was I bet you've had shows where you're looking through the curtains, no one there. A couple of people there. It's going to be another one of them shows. Then all of a sudden, last minute before it starts, bang, they all pour in. We had that happen in a lot of country towns where they just roll up at the last minute, you know, and it's a packed house. You're like, phew, thank God.
Yeah. Well, I've worked to 6,000 people, which was fantastic. I did that probably 4 or 5 times, and then I've worked to 14 people. So you just got to get used to all different conditions. Shopping centres, we used to do a lot of shopping centres here, and we get massive crowds. I always get a good crowd over 1,000 all the time.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome, mate. I'm so glad we got you on, Ken. Look, time is up. Can you just share a little bit about your book, Ken? And we are going to, promote your book on the channel here, and we'll talk a bit more about your book on the next interview so we can get more in depth in it.
Yep, sure. It's called Dazzler Dunlop, Inside My Squared Circle. It's through the Shoreline Publishing Group. And I just thought over the years, I sit down with guys and talk about stories, and everyone used to say to me, oh, you should write a book, you should write a book. And I thought about it in the back of my head, but I never had time. So I retired from work 4 years ago. I had to retire at 56 because, again, unfortunately, I had pretty bad health at the time. And so I sat down, and it took me 2 years. So it took a lot. It's a lot harder than you think. And my memory's not that great because I had a lot of concussions throughout those years. So I had to go back and start things and finish them and start them again. But it's basically my story of starting off in Melbourne, then moving to Sydney. That was the big move. Also dealing with my sexuality. That was a very big issue for me at the time, like coming out gay as well. And I did struggle through depression a few times. I had to go and seek help, which again is a very big step. Once you need help, you've got to go and get it. So that's all in the book, and it talks about my relationships with people like Jack Little, who became a good friend of mine, Mario Milano, Ron Miller, and all those sort of guys, and talks about all the stories. I've got one chapter on CTE, because that's a very, very big issue. And I'm actually on a study with a neurologist into CTE. So they're doing a research program, and they're looking for volunteers. So I've volunteered. So I go and get a brain scan every year, and they do all these different tests here and there. So that's all in the book about the CTE. I've got the funny stories in there as well, like the Philly pants.
Chapter 8, how I filled my pants.
But yeah, so just things like that, and just again, I've taught a lot of guys, so I've got a little bit on each of the guys I taught as well. So I'm really proud of. It took me just 2 years to write, and my partner took 6 months to edit, and the publishing company were fantastic. They were so patient. They never pushed. They wanted it released like 6 months earlier, and I just kept saying, no, I need more time. And they were quite good. They just let me go, and so it got released in November. So it was fantastic.
That really is good, and we'll do our best because Doug's a 9-time author. He's written some amazing books on autism and other issues, and we'll push that out. And it's just absolutely fantastic having you on, and we can't wait to get you back on in another few weeks and hear more about your story of writing the book. And I'm a bit scared to ask you about any more incidences on the mat, mate.
There is one. And I'm sure it happens to nearly all the guys. Once I got and I just fell to the ground. I'm totally embarrassed. I just fell on the mat. And my opponent sort of kept trying to get me up, and he tried and pick me up, and I'm just laying there like a dead log. And he said, get up, Christ, get up and do something. And then I said, he just pissed himself, and he's trying to put me on an arm bar to hold me on the ground. But I'm sure that happens to a lot of guys.
Yeah. What a lot of people don't understand. Sadly, it's a thing that's the morning riser sometimes around about 7 a.m. no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Look, this has been awesome. Can't thank you enough, mate. And next time we come on, we'll delve into the more scary stories of Ken Dunlop.
There is something else you'd be interested in being an actor. I've actually written a screenplay as well, a comedy series based on wrestling, which I'm still working on. I've been working on that for about 6 months, and it's coming along quite well. So I reckon it'll be another 12 months before I'm finished it, but I reckon it'd be a good idea for a series.
Yeah, look, I'll send you the link to the boys we interviewed on here, the 2 boys who did the Midnight Massacre, and see if you can find their movie on the stream and have a look at that. It might throw some ideas, because that was funny. I think it's a little similar to what you're doing, but theirs was a movie, not a series. So it was they had some pretty cool guys on there. A couple of MMA fighters, a couple of guys who used to wrestle, but it was just funny. It was just a tongue-in-cheek. My next door neighbour, he's an actor, he was on it. So, it was very funny. But, Ken, I can't thank you enough, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Doug will take us out now, and we'll, throw your book around. So, Doug, are you ready, mate, to take us out?
Yeah, I definitely am. We thank Ken for pretty much the good laughs of the evening and for appearing on our Tales from the Mat, and we'll see you next week for the next episode.